It's 6 p.m. We will call this meeting to order. As a reminder, if you would like to speak before the commission tonight, please complete a blue speaker request form and give it to the clerk prior to the item. I don't think any of the children have anything to address at this time.
See, there we go. We have cards?
May we have roll call, please?
Commissioner Dinko,
Here.
Commissioner Parilla,
Present.
Commissioner Ward,
Here.
Vice Chair Wall,
Here.
Chair DaCosta.
Present. Tonight, the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Commissioner Parilla. Please stand. Our first presentation item this evening is a code enforcement update provided by Officer Morales Morena.
Good evening, Honorable Chairperson DaCosta and Commissioners, members of the public. Our Senior Code Enforcement Officer, Mario Moreno, will not be here this evening. He's currently responding to a grow house. So, however, I would like to take an opportunity in the place of item 3.1 to make an introduction for you regarding our new Assistant City Manager. Is that all right by the
Please.
commissioners? Okay. This evening we have here with us our new Assistant City Manager, Brian Jones.
Good evening, Brian.
Welcome.
Brian started with us on last Monday. So Brian draws from his nearly 20 years in both public and private sectors, with more than a decade serving in the local government public sector in leadership positions. He has led cutting-edge land use and transportation infrastructure projects throughout California and North America, as well as a results-oriented certified planner and professional engineer. So not only is he an engineer, so he speaks Enginese, and I like to tease him about that, but he's also a planner. So he speaks Planese as well. He has led land use projects from large-scale residential developments, office campuses, industrial parks, transit-oriented development, downtown revitalization, and mixed-use projects. Brian has a master's degree in public administration from Norwich University, focused on leadership and sustainable financial strategies, a bachelor's degree of science in civil engineering from University of California, Davis, with a communications minor. He's passionate about identifying ways to help improve and connect people, businesses, and communities so that they can all continue to thrive. Brian is married to his wife, Sherry, of 10 years, and they have 2 children and 3 black labs. We're really honored and proud to have Brian be joining the Eastvale family, and we're looking forward to many years of success together.
Welcome. Item 3.1, code enforcement update.
Mario Moreno won't be here this evening because
I'm sorry.
He's still gone.
I'm trying to follow
I-
the
He's
written
gonna finish
agenda.
with that thing. Come on.
Yes, it is. Monthly police department update, forgive me.
we'll bring that item back to you at the next commission meeting.
Very good.
Good evening, Chair DaCosta. I'd like to take this time to introduce our new crime prevention officer. So good evening, Chair, good evening, Commissioners, and good evening to city staff. I'd like to introduce Deputy James Huggins as our new crime prevention volunteer coordinator for the city of Eastvale. Jim will be responsible for neighborhood watch, volunteers, explorers, and a host of other duties. Jim joined the Riverside County Sheriff's Department in 2007. He was assigned patrol at the Hooper Valley Station from September 2007 to August of 2011. He was then assigned as an SRO for Corona Norco Unified School District until his present position. Jim is a United States Marine Corps veteran, and he served from 1982 to 1986. His assignments included infantry and was a scout sniper. He began his career in law enforcement in 2002 with the LAPD and was assigned patrol in Central and the Hollywood divisions. Jim is a family man and has been married to his wonderful wife, Deanna, for 30 years. And he has two wonderful children, Ashley, 27, who teaches biology at Los Osos High School in Rancho Cucamonga, and his son, JT, 23, who is a civil engineer in Temecula. Jim loves mentoring the youth and has coached a variety of sports, including Pop Warner football for the last 12 years in Rancho Cucamonga. So I'm honored to introduce to you James Huggins.
Welcome, sir. Thank you, and thank you for your service, sir. And my apologies for skipping the agenda item 3.2 for the crime prevention officer. Item 3.3, monthly police department update.
Good evening, Chair. Good evening, Commissioners. The March 2018 stats are, we had a total of 2,187 calls for service, which is 8% decrease from the month of February. We had 75 total traffic collisions, which was a 27% increase from the month of February. Out of those traffic collisions, we had 17 that were injuries. That was a 13% increase from the month of February. We had 58 non-injury TCs, which was a 28% increase from the month of February. The total number of citations written were 371 citations, which was a 32% decrease from the month of February. The moving citations were 218, which was a 26% decrease. Parking citations was 161, which was a 37% decrease. Vehicle burglaries, we had 22 reported, which was a 15% increase. Noise calls, we had 38 reported, which was a 29% decrease from the month of February. Mail theft, we had 5 reported mail thefts, which was a 16% decrease from the previous month. Our UCR stats for the month of February 2018, we had 0 homicides, 0 rapes, 2 robberies, 5 aggravated assaults, 14 burglaries, 32 larceny/thefts, 7 vehicle thefts, and 0 arsons. As right now, the March UCR stats are unavailable. Just like to point out, on April 18th, we had the Eastville traffic team. We did a distracted driver operation, and during that operation, we cited 25 drivers were cited for talking or texting on their cell phones. 14 other drivers were cited for various traffic violations, and 3 drivers were cited for unlicensed or suspended licenses, and their vehicles were towed. Just want to point out, we also have a upcoming checkpoint in the month of May. May 26th, we have a planned checkpoint, and we also have a few traffic enforcement operations also through the month of May.
Thank you, sir. Commissioners, any questions?
No, sir. I just have one question, sir. I noticed that, again, the robberies seem to be holding steadfast. I think this is probably the second or third consecutive month in which we've had some form of robbery. And I believe a couple of meetings ago I addressed the fact if they were street 211s, robberies, or if they were business robberies. Is there any more update on that?
Well, it varies from month to month. The two that we have reported this month were, those were strong arm robberies. They weren't business robberies.
Okay. And is there any particular area that the robberies are occurring in, or are they just all over the map?
I don't think we've established a trend that they're going in one specific area. They're just throughout.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Item 3.4, monthly fire department update. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you. Chair DeCosta, Commissioners, Justin Scribner with the Fire Department. Since I have not been here for a little bit, I decided to give you an update from January 1st up until yesterday on calls for service for the Fire Department. What we're looking at, approximately 1,000 calls for service, and that is both stations with an average response time of 4.3 minutes per call. So from the time the call comes into the station to the time we arrive on scene of whatever emergency it happens to be, the average is 4.3 minutes. And just for reference, in 2017, the same time frame, we had 955 calls for service, so we do have an increase in calls every year that we're seeing. Total response times per station, I broke those down between Station 27 and Station 31, and as you know, we opened Station 31 in April of 2017. So for the same time frame, Station 27 still is our busier station. They've run 703 of those calls with a 4.3 minute response time. Station 31 picked up 379 of those calls with an approximate response time of 4.2 minutes. Breaking down those calls, the majority of those, 74.7% of those being medical in nature. All the other calls, they go from false alarms to hazmat calls, public service assists, traffic collision, vehicle fires, to come up to our total. So we do run a range of calls in the city. No larger significant fires to report in the city during that time frame. But the stations do continue to be involved in the community and community events such as opening day of baseball, girls softball for Little League, station tours, and school tours as requested. And that's the end of my report, and I'm available for questions.
Happy 1-year anniversary to Fire Station 31.
Absolutely.
Questions, commissioners?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Consent calendar. Motion is at hand to approve the items listed.
I motion to accept the consent calendar.
I'll second that.
It's been motioned and seconded. Can we take a vote, please?
Commissioner Dinko,
Aye.
Commissioner Parilla,
Aye.
Commissioner Ward,
Aye.
Vice Chair Wall,
Aye.
Chair DeCosta.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
I'm going to have Vice Chair Wall take over for me for the moment.
Item 5.1, aggressive solicitation ordinance.
Good evening, Vice Chair Wall and Commissioners, Chair DeCosta. As a reminder, at the last Public Safety Commission on March 27th, we brought before you a staff report identifying the need or potential need for an aggressive panhandling ordinance to address the panhandling that was increasing within the city of Eastvale, and also utilizing that as a potential catalyst for a homelessness plan. The commission had agreed that it would be a good idea and good strategy to draft a aggressive panhandling ordinance for consideration at the next meeting, which would be this one, in addition to some marketing collateral and outreach for folks on twofold, folks that in the community so that they know what they can do to help and dissuade them from handing out money or goods to those asking for it, and also for the panhandlers themselves. One thing that I do want to identify is that we did bring back to you a aggressive solicitation ordinance, and I want to first identify that the terminology of aggressive panhandling was changed to aggressive solicitation, as it more accurately portrayed the scope of the ordinance. So panhandling is kind of a subsidiary of solicitation, so it still in scope covers a wider range of such acts. So that was the major change. So if you see on the ordinance in the staff report, it says aggressive solicitation. We wanted to make sure it was identified for the benefit of the commission, council, and public and staff so that they understand that it is still accomplishing the same goal, just the terminology change allowed a little bit more of a broader scope. So with that, attached to your agenda packet is the draft of the aggressive solicitation ordinance. A couple of highlights that you will notice is that it also includes lingering and loitering in public places, and we have identified and delineated specific locations such as ATM machines, banking facilities, things of that nature. And it's pretty uniform and standard as we presented before in March to the regional approach for panhandling or solicitation. We did incorporate the lingering and loitering as we foresaw that as a potential problem coming up, again, with the inclusion and possibility of homelessness increasing within the Inland Empire and more specifically East Vale. So it has gone through the city manager and city legal department for a review. We did not foresee any issues with it as it is, again, it's standardized. In the region, there are a couple of cities that incorporated the lingering and loitering. However, some opted to make it a separate municipal code. For our purposes, we felt it best to incorporate it into one. So it would just be one municipal code addition into our current municipal code. So what staff is requesting tonight of the Public Safety Commission is to recommend that City Council approve the first reading of the prospective ordinance. If approved, or if recommended for approval by the Commission, we do intend on presenting this to City Council tomorrow as a draft for the first reading. If they then approve it, it'll go to a subsequent council meeting on May 9th for a second reading, and then adopted within 30 days after that. So roughly being enforceable by June, July 1, somewhere in there. So I'm available to answer any questions that you might have regarding this item.
Thank you, Aaliyah. Very extensive. Commissioners, any questions at this time?
I have a question. Is there going to be a way, if this is adopted by the city, to quantify any actions taken by the Sheriff's Department? In other words, does the Sheriff's Department have a way to accurately gather statistics on if this is a problem or if this is increasing or decreasing? Will there be something in your computer system or something able to help the commission as well as city staff to say, hey, in this area or this shopping center, we've had X number of complaints this month that we've responded to, and we foresee this being a trend or perhaps not an issue?
Yes, sir. We'll be able to do that through our data warehouse system, which tracks all our calls for service. And what we can do is we'll just have a code for, like, under loitering, and we'll just research all the loitering calls. And then we can do crime stat maps, and we can end up mapping all the areas that we receive calls for service and how many over whatever time period we choose. It could be a month, it could be every week, whatever we decide. And if you want to report back to the Public Safety Commission, we'd be happy to do that. Add it to one of our stats. That's more than reasonable.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Dinko, anything, sir?
Can you come back to me?
Yes, sir.
I do have, Chair DeCosta, I do have two more key items that I wanted to also bring up is just to remind the commission that this aggressive solicitation ordinance draft is just one of two parts for solicitation aggressively. The second part will be for staff to research and work with the private property owners to talk about how to integrate and work collaboratively on how to mitigate those aggressive solicitors in those private property settings. This would just be the first part of a two-part ordinance or two-part collaborative effort. One of the other things I did want to bring up, Jessica, if you can bring this up on the screen. There was a specific request both from the public and the commission to talk about marketing material, outreach items, and collateral. Though it's not finalized yet, we wanted to show you at least somewhat of what we are doing. Our WRCOG fellow, Ava Tarakova, who's out in the audience, has done a tremendous amount of research to help with our efforts. So this is a large project. So one of the things, or three of the things that we had looked at for outreach materials is a resource booklet for the solicitors, as I mentioned before, potential door hangers or flyers for Eastville residents, which is much in line with what the Southwest Riverside County is doing, and also some material for the website so folks can look on the website for additional resources. Some of the ideas that we had here on the screen, and again, these are just ideas and pictures right now. We still need to get final approval and buy-in from the city manager and assistant city manager. But what we've been looking at is a couple of different things. You'll see at the bottom right in the green is somewhat of a booklet. Some of the cities we've seen, such as Moreno Valley, they provide a small booklet inclusive of resources, maps, and it's somewhat thicker, but it's very, very comprehensive of all the resources in the whole county, not just in the Western Riverside County area. Right above it is a kind of like a trifold accordion that's laminated, that's very, very thin, that could be a potential idea to hand out to folks that are, seeking social services or some kind of free services, employment, what have you. And then on the left there is a very rough draft of a door hanger or pamphlet that we could hand out to folks or put in our weekly electronic newsletter on our website and hand out collateral at events that would identify what folks can do to help aggressive solicitors if they do need those social services, donations to different kinds of nonprofit organizations, additional resources. So these are just some of the ideas of the collateral we were brainstorming of how we could market it. And again, Ava did a lot of the heavy lifting on this and contacted multiple cities to see how they're marketing it and what they're doing. We do understand the city of Riverside leads the Northwest or the Western, I think it's the Northwest Alliance for Homelessness, so they have a comprehensive website, but again, this is just specifically for aggressive solicitation at this point. And I believe the commission's intent was to brand it in a City of Eastvale manner, which is what we're trying to do. Obviously, the one on the right and bottom right aren't marketed for Eastville, but those were simply just ideas of what we could do in the future. And then lastly, here's a closer look of what a door hanger would look like, and I believe this is similar to what the city of Menifee does in their community. They provide door hangers for folks. On one side, they talk about what is aggressive solicitation, what's it defined as, what does our municipal code say, and is it conduct or is it actions, is it behavior, what does this really mean? And then on the back are some resources of how they can help more specifically. So this is just a closer look of the door hanger that we were thinking that would be aligned with some of what the other cities are doing in a regional approach. So again, very, very rough drafts, but I did want to show the commission and staff that we are looking at different avenues and aspects of it, not yet finalized, but we are brainstorming.
Understood. Very lengthy. I'm going through it.
I thought you meant me. I was trying to keep it short.
Coming back to Commissioner Dinko.
I like the public education piece that keeps our city in a good position to defend itself with regard to issues that come up, to show that we're doing our part in terms of reaching out and helping those in need. I think that's an important piece, especially the trifolds or the pamphlets in whatever format is chosen. I'm really an advocate for that. I've read through the proposed ordinance. It looks great. I just had one question, if it could be checked, and I could be wrong on this, but under the section of penalty, it is on page number, I'm not sure, but the section is 8.19.080.
That would be page 103 in the agenda.
It would, under subsection A, I just want to make sure, and it could be accurate, I just want to make sure that the section 1.04.010 that the penalty refers to points to an active section. I just didn't find it in our Muni code. It might be there, and I just didn't find it. I just want to make sure we point to the right spot.
Absolutely. Following we'll make sure that that's accurate and references the accurate section.
Perfect, thank you.
And just for a point of clarification, it reads misdemeanor. Any person who violates sections 8.19.050 and 8.19.060 of this chapter shall be guilty of a misdemeanor or infraction as provided in section 1.04.010 of Title I of the Eastvale Municipal Code. So thank you, Commissioner Dinko, for having gone through it. Anybody have any further questions? I think it is admirable of the city to provide the resource pamphlet to give to the panhandler, so it doesn't seem like we're just kicking them to the curb without reaching out and giving them some sort of provided help. I know there are many resources that aid in that regard. So I thank you for the extensive research and the presentation. I'll be presenting this to the City Council tomorrow on the basis that you presented it to commission, and at this time, I think we have to take a vote.
I'll make a motion to support and endorse the Eastville Municipal Code as presented to this commission.
I second the motion.
Commissioner Dinko,
Aye.
Commissioner Parilla,
Aye.
Commissioner Ward,
Aye.
Vice Chair Wall,
Aye.
Chair DaCosta.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Chair DaCosta, if I can just make sure that the point was iterated, and I believe the point was made, but I want to just be sure that the commission understands that we will be presenting this same item to council tomorrow, verbally updated that it was recommended by the commission to approve it with the noted recommendation to what Commissioner Dinko had referenced as far as the section.
Yes.
Okay,
And-
just want to make sure that was pointed out.
And tomorrow night will be the first of 3 reads.
The first of 2 readings.
First of 2.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Thank you. Item 5.2, Emergency Operations Plan Update.
Well, good evening again, Commissioners. The item before you is a updated emergency operations plan. Upon incorporation, the City of Eastville went through an accreditation process to get compliant with state and federal standards, which included the National Incident Management System and the Standardized Emergency Management System, also known as NIMS and SIMS. Part of those recommendations, it wasn't a requirement, part of those recommendations required a standardization of how cities are going to operate during the time of an emergency or disaster. With that, one of the requirements under the recommendation is to have a emergency operation plan, which is basically how the city is going to run and operate, who's going to do what in the time of an emergency, as those day-to-day roles as a fire chief or police chief or a city manager may change a little bit in times of the emergency or disaster. So I believe in 2012, 2013 is when the city saw the first draft of the emergency operation plan, also known as the EOP, brought before city council and approved, which was great. Went up to the state, got adopted formally. Part of the requirements now is just to update the EOP every 3 years or as needed. Does not need to be approved by the state or the county operational area anymore. It just needs to be updated and approved by city council. So this item, I wanted to just delineate some of the major changes for you rather than having to look through every single page, because a lot of it is still standard. One of the major changes that I did when reviewing this draft was, if you remember, the Riverside County Office of Emergency Services merged. Actually, it was taken out of the County Fire Department, merged with the Riverside County Emergency REMSA, and it also merged with the Department of Public Health to form a new department, which is EMD, the Emergency Management Department. So simple verbiage change from OES to EMD. The second part was, if you also remember, the state of California once had it Cal-OES, then went back to Cal-EMA, which is the Emergency Management Agency, and then went back to Cal-OES, which is the Governor's Office of Emergency Services. So those were delineated and changed as well. One thing that I did increase was, because Eastvale is so on top of public outreach and community and advising the community of occurrences and happenings, we did redraft the outreach efforts of the City of Eastvale from the Communications Department, City Manager's Department, to identify what those measures are with social media, the weekly electronic newsletter, and all the wonderful things that come with communications. The Riverside County has the new alert and warning notification system, which is also known as Alert Rivco. So we identified that as an available resource for Eastville residents and businesses to register. So it functions as a reverse 911. So 911 calls you to tell you there's an emergency in your area, whether it's an evacuation or something of major catastrophe or disaster. We did update also the Emergency Operations Center organizational chart to include some key things, and I did review this with our Riverside County Emergency Management Department liaison, our emergency services coordinator that services our area, and one of the things that we really wanted to add in there was the incorporation of access and functional needs is to be able to serve a community with disabilities. So in our updated EOC organizational chart, we have in there a position under the Mass Care and Shelter branch that identifies an access and functional needs liaison that can help folks that need wheelchairs, glasses, service dogs, anything of that nature that happens and may be taken away from them in time of a disaster. The lines of succession for city administration were also updated to delineate new positions with the onboarding of the assistant city manager and the pending recruitment for the finance director. Those were also included as the city staff has expanded to meet the needs of the community. That has also been included. And also just, again, this whole community planning approach, which is in line with current legislature, and including people with access and functional needs, once again, to say that we're taking into account those types of things. One thing to note is the Riverside County Alert Rivco also has the TTY capabilities and different language capabilities to ensure that the message is getting out to other demographics of folks or folks that are deaf or hard of hearing or speak different languages. So those were the major changes that were identified in the emergency operations plan. And at this time, staff is requesting that the Public Safety Commission recommend approval of the EOP to City Council, which will also be presented tomorrow at City Council's meeting for through a resolution to be adopted. And I'm available to answer any questions.
Thank you for the extensive research on this as well, and the inclusion of ADA compliance in the TTY for the hard of hearing. Any questions from the commission?
No, it's a big plan. There's a lot in it. So, looks good to me.
Motion is at hand for the purpose of approving
I'll
the
submit
emergency
a-
operations plan.
I'll submit a motion to approve the EOC plan as presented to this commission.
The second.
Commissioner Dinko,
Aye.
Commissioner Perilla,
Aye.
Commissioner Ward,
Aye.
Vice Chair Wall,
Aye.
Chair DaCosta.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
At this time, it's public comment time. I don't think we have any public comments, do we?
No, we have not received any cards.
Moving on to our next item, 7, city staff report.
Good evening, Chairman DaCosta. Commissioners, we do have a few updates for you. Number one, we have a new code enforcement officer, Christopher DeHessa, that started on Monday. Well, no, I'm sorry. We have a couple of new positions that started. We have our assistant city manager, but last Wednesday we had Christopher DeHessa start. This Monday we had Stephanie. She is new in the city clerk's office. She's our deputy city clerk. And I'm drawing a blank on her last name, but you will meet her soon, I'm sure. And then we are currently going to be going through interviews for our finance director position. So more staff to come. I would also like to share with you that we have currently 2 open recruitments for interns at City Hall. So please refer folks to City Hall if you hear anyone that's looking for an internship. And lastly, would like to share with you that Aaliyah Rodriguez will be leaving us. So she has taken a position with City of Riverside. Riverside Fire, she'll be the Administrative Services Director, Manager for City of Riverside Fire Department. So we're really excited for her. Congratulations. And tomorrow will be her last day.
Congratulations, Aaliyah.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
She'll do a great job there.
Congratulations, Leah. really sorry to see you go. I'm happy for you, but I'm sorry to see you go because you present such thorough information for the commission. And it's going to be Eastvale's loss, but Riverside's gain. Congratulations.
You've done a great job.
Thank you.
Sorry to see you go.
Yeah.
Welcome to Riverside.
And I believe
Make sure we get
Olivia,
our last copy of this EOC plan. Please, I know it's tomorrow.
actually, the EOC's gone to the commission and the council before, so this isn't the first time that it's been seen by the commission. The EOP, actually.
Good evening, Public Safety Commissioners. I do have a few updates on behalf of the city. I'll make it short and sweet. Our next financial goal setting workshop will be taking place tomorrow evening, specifically focusing on public safety. So we invite you to participate in that if you're available, and our regular city council meeting will follow immediately after the workshop. The workshop will be at 5:30 p.m. Right here at Rosa Parks Elementary. The Eastville Chamber of Commerce will be having their annual National Day of Prayer breakfast next Thursday, May 3rd. And I was informed this afternoon that they only have 20 seats left. So if you haven't RSVP'd already, please do so. And we're looking forward to participating in that. It's going to be at 7 a.m. at New Day Church next Thursday. We are gearing up for our free residential cleanup and paper shredding event on May 26th at Augustine Ramirez Intermediate School from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. And volunteers are needed. I'll be reaching out to you soon to see if you'd like to partner with us in that event by volunteering. Thank you in advance for your consideration. And the Eastville Campout event will be held this weekend at Parada Heritage Park, Saturday through Sunday, April 28th through 29th, from 4 p.m. to 11 a.m. And it should be a blast. I think they are going to be roasting marshmallows and listening to music, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We will be hosting a business outreach in partnership with the Eastville Chamber of Commerce, the City of Grupo Valley, as well as the Grupo Valley Chamber of Commerce. This business workshop will be focused on the upcoming Limelight interchange project. So we'll be reaching out to our local businesses to keep a strong communication with them and working with them to prepare for this big project. So looking forward to that. That's going to be on Tuesday, June 5th at 6 p.m. at New Day Church. Save the date for this year's State of the City. If you haven't seen our announcement, go out and you can visit our website for more information. But it's going to be held on Tuesday, June 24th at 6 p.m. at Eleanor Roosevelt High School. And then lastly, Costco will be opening on June 28th. If you didn't hear already, it's 2 days sooner than originally anticipated. So we're excited to work with them to plan their grand opening, and we're working closely with them for their on their recruitment efforts. So really excited for them to open. Construction is moving really quickly, and if you take a drive down there, they already have the frame of the building, and the roof is going up. So our latest video is actually on all of our platforms, so if you want to check that out. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Come up for air sometime. Very well spoken, well versed. Any questions from the commission at this time?
Olivia, the state of the region or state of the city is on July.
Can I say June?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, July 24th.
There you go.
Tuesday, July 24th at 6 p.m.
Yes,
Thank you.
no worries.
State of the City.
State of the city.
That's all. Thank you.
Good catch. You're a keeper, I guess? No questions. Moving right along from the city staff report, do we have a public works update? Joe.
Good evening, Mr. Commissioner, Mr. Chair. The public works update has been provided to you, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer any questions. But I just want to add, Hamner Avenue widening was awarded on the Swan Lake area. It was awarded to Hillcrest Development. We are in the final sprint to get them loose, which is going to be mid-May. And schedule-wise, we are looking good because the plan was to complete this project prior to Limonite I-15 detour traffic is going to take and use Hamner. And our hope is actually we have to manage this really well because Costco opening is going to be coming up by the end of June. We may be at the tail end of this project when Costco opens, so we're going to be a lot of traffic, but it's going to be ready for sure for Limonite I-15 when the detour traffic is going to use Hamner. And the plan for Limonite I-15, there is a bid going to happen in the next couple of weeks, bid opening. And the construction has been coordinated in such a way that the fast lane in I-15 has started. If you've seen the median of I-15 from Cantu all the way, I think it's inching up all the way to the south side. And the purpose is that they're doing that ahead of their other sections of the I-15 fast lane to allow the project to finish when Limonite I-15 interchange occurs. So I'm very pleased to announce and to share with you and our hard work paid off between City Manager Nisan and myself and our staff. We've been talking to the county RCTC to make sure that this coordination is happening, and it is happening. So we are pleased to share that with you, Commission, tonight. And the other one is that we have a project which is Hamner Avenue Bridge over the channel. The meeting continues to occur, and the monthly meeting that is going to start at the end of 2020 or beginning of 2021. And the environmental work is ongoing right now, and the design is continuing. We've been working very closely with the city of Norco. And the good news is that there's a possibility that we're going to be working with Norco and the County of Riverside and WRCOG to complete the widening of Limonite, I'm sorry, not Limonite, Hamner, from the Lille project all the way to Norco on 6th Street. WRCOG has suggested to us that instead of each city doing piecemeal project, if we can combine the whole project together, because it's going to be funded through WRCOG TAM fee anyway. And we are pleased to share with you that this is also in the planning stage right now, a meeting with Norco, the county, and WRCOG. That is going to be nice additions by the end of the time, by the end of this project, which is expected to happen before Hamner Avenue Bridge over the channel, over the Santa Ana River starts, that this project is going to be complete. So there's going to be another additional that we have to the city. We're going to have a busy next few years with all the construction going on, with the funding and the CIP projects that we have. Mr. City Manager, any other CIP projects you'd like to add? Okay. Thank you, Commission.
Thank you, Joe. Any other reports from city staff? Aaliyah, welcome back again.
I just very quickly wanted to thank yourself and Commissioner or Vice Chair Wall and the rest of the board commission for the opportunity to serve under your leadership and to be a part of the Public Safety Commission. I look forward to my new adventure, but I will miss Eastvale and the family that I've made here. And I just wanted to say that I really appreciate the opportunity and thank you for everything. And yes, Christian, I will see you soon.
Thank you and congratulations again. Item 8, Commission Communications. Anybody have anything at this time?
No.
It's been a quiet month.
Commissioner DaCosta, or excuse me, Chairman DaCosta, I would procedurally like to just make the commissioners aware that Brian Jones will be taking over as the lead for the Public Safety Commission meetings.
Very good. Thank you, Brian. Seeing no commission communications, any future agenda items? Any items specific to public safety, gentlemen?
I have a question that may lead to a future agenda item. Leah. And it goes back to my question on the solicitation ordinance and crime stats. I mean, for the last several years, at least I've been hearing crime stats, And I know that the sheriff's department has some reporting districts or RDs or however you do that. Those are tied into the county. Does the city have its own reporting districts, and are those tied into council district mapping? Where we could pull council district 1 or 2 or 3 and figure out what the crime trends are in different council districts that may be of concern to some constituents in those districts? Or is it more of a city and county-wide reporting district?
Yeah, the city of Eastville has different beats throughout the city. I don't believe they're set up by the council members area, but we can definitely report on, you know, the northwest portion of the city, or the central portion of the city, or the southeast portion of the city, based on our beats. We can do that.
Okay, how many beats does the city of Eastville have?
I think it's 5.
Okay. All right, that answers my question. Thank you.
Any other items, gentlemen? Seeing none. Time to adjourn. 6:48 p.m.